Hi, this is Danny Hammond with the Foreclosure Solutions Group, which isn't quite as large a group as it once was. It's been a long ago, 2011, 2010. And I have been giving you pieces of things, and as I think about it, you really want to know all of the things. And the main reason is that nothing is like any of you that I have gotten a chance to talk to. I want to apologize for that. In the 6 months that I um, kind of kind of started winning, um, and part of it was in a way I didn't expect, and I really thought it was going to go another way. And I don't want to try to explain that now because what I'm going to try to do is keep these pretty short. I'm going to go through why and how you got into all this. And I don't mean, how you paid or didn't pay or what went wrong or what didn't go wrong, about how did you get into these guys who don't have any right to foreclose, um, taking you to court, and without the right to foreclose, they're trying to foreclose. Um, the so what I want to do now is I wanted to talk about the whole thing, how we would do the whole thing. You know, what I tell you pieces, and when I'm done, you think of the piece and you're going, God, that sounds really good. And then you call me, and I realize that you're still stuck in what you were doing. I think I'll talk first about, like, how did this happen? Was it always like this? No, no. I've been doing real estate since I was 18, um, and it was easy, and no one ever did anything like they're doing now. It just wasn't done because it was against the law, and the law was in effect, and the law was being enforced. If you've watched me very much or thought about it very much, the kind of things I'm saying, you know that I think um, that um, it started in 1999. And a couple of things that really hit me after I started looking into it, I could tell, in a non-judicial state, I can tell you how many times the foreclosure was wrongful just by looking up the times, or how many times were successor trustees placed in to watch over the loan and to actually own the loan until the time that the borrower paid it off. Remember, no one ever started out to say that, you know, you have a right to foreclose, um, because that wasn't the intent. Bankers didn't want to foreclose. There was no profit in it. It cost money and cost them their standing in the community. And something happened that changed that. So there's really three events that I think about, and that's when I first looked up how many successor trustees in my county had been put in place. And the original trustee of the loan, by the way, um, does not apply to if you have a judicial foreclosure state. So I'm going to go through it pretty quickly because they're really both the same the way we defend. But you guys in a judicial foreclosure state go in a straight line. It's much easier to think about, and it's the same amount of hard to win or lose, but it is much easier to understand because honestly, there's no way that the non-judicial foreclosure states are doing it constitutionally. So when did the non-judicial foreclosure states become that? And it was during the Great Depression when everybody was getting foreclosed everywhere, and bankers lobbied around and wanted to speed up the process because they thought they were going broke next, and they probably were. In fact, well, that's the third thing. Okay, so in what I want to say is that in 1994, there were a total of 49 foreclosures in Jackson County, Missouri, which is most of Kansas City, Missouri, and really most of the metro Kansas City, and including the subdivisions to the east. So it's around 700,000 people, is what I've estimated. It's a big number. There were 49 foreclosures total in the county for the year 1994. By the year 2001, there were 700 per month. I said 49 per year before. Now I'm saying 700 per month. By 2007 and 8, which is the crash that some people call the mortgage meltdown, and I don't. It was a Wall Street meltdown, is what it was, and that was the cause. Um, anyway, so we're looking at a giant increase, 700 a month, and then by 2007, 1100 a month. By 2012, 13 to 1500 a month, and it stayed that way kind of since. Some dips, and people don't know that. They think that that was fixed somehow. It has not been fixed, not at all. So let's go forward to what changed between 1994 and 2002. What changed was Congress, Bill Clinton, a Democrat, and a Republican Congress, and repealed the Glass-Steagall Finance Act of 1934. And what was that for? And why was it done? And who did it? Who wrote it? Who put it together? After the crash of the stock market in 1929, which was the cause, um, there were things not in place that made it worse. In fact, as we think of the Great Depression as being a bigger problem than the mortgage meltdown, yep, I just said it. Um, the, the Wall Street meltdown of the 2006, 7, and 8 period through 2010, and then continuing because of what was allowed by the courts after that. So the repeal of Glass-Steagall, what Glass-Steagall was meant to do in 1934 was they put together some smart guys, and there's very few of them that get together today, and there's very few smart guys. I blame the internet, which I use, but I don't think it's necessarily the best thing that ever happened, and I don't see any way to control it. But the internet is how this scheme, scam, whatever, expanded to what it is today. Um, and so what they found was that it was the ability or the allowing of um, what are called investment banks. You'll see that those words, and when you do, substitute it in your head, stockbrokers. And stockbrokers, people put their money trying to get more money, to earn more money, but it it's a risky business, and in fact, is they disclose it as we don't guarantee anything. Your stockbroker does, and we don't guarantee anything, but you could make a lot, a lot more than you can by earning interest by putting your money in a bank CD or something. Um, so let's call them the risk takers and the fast talkers, and probably the smarter of the two groups, in my opinion. And then you have commercial banks, and that's really just the bank that you have your savings account in and your checking account in, the commercial bank. And the commercial bank is adverse to risk, and it's called adverse to risk. They're supposed to be adverse to risk, which means they mainly loan in their area to um, the people in the town for homes, to buy farms, say to buy seed in the spring, and then uh, to pay to be paid off in the fall by the harvest, and other things, businesses, but mainly in their area. There really weren't in 1929. There really weren't global or national banks. There just weren't any. And so your bank in a big city was like in your neighborhood. And it was probably, maybe it had more than one location, but it wouldn't be a lot of locations. And in a small town, it was the bank, the friends and neighbors of the banker. And he had the accounts that your savings account was in and your um, checking account was in. And those accounts, you can't, you know, you don't know what happened to your money when you put it in. A lot of people still today don't know that their money is loaned out. The run on the banks, and Jimmy Stewart in It's a Good Life, or It Happened One Christmas, or whatever. Jimmy Stewart, that they had a thrift, and that was really a local bank. And the run that was going on is everybody heard that he was in trouble, so they all rushed to get their money, but it was loaned out. it was loaned out to Bill Williams building a house, or to the hardware store to buy goods to sell, and then be paid off. And then when people bought the goods, then they need to borrow more money. So the idea that you could go get your money in any bank now is not logical. It's not a logical way, but that's what started killing the banks, and that's why that movie is very realistic. Although um, I just like Jimmy Stewart too. I'm not his age, but I like Jimmy Stewart. I'm just close to his age, probably. Anyway, so um, so that's the catalyst. Is that the big city, um, as the country is growing, as New York grew, and as Wall Street started growing, they needed more money so they could get more, investors, and they made friends with the bankers in the commercial banks. And when they did that, they instead of having instead of a banker knowing that he had the community's money in his bank and he had to be adverse to risk, he only made safe bets. And then he met a stockbroker. Radio was beginning to work, telephones were around, you could drive a car a long ways. They didn't last very long at first, but anyway, people were more mobile. And so these two types of bankers met each other: stockbrokers and the neighborhood friendly bank, uh, who, when you walked in, everybody knew your name, and your banker really could have been felt more like an uncle than a banker. When that happened, the profit margins that they were hearing, these bankers, because they didn't know much about the stock market, or if they did, or if they even participated in it, they hadn't really thought, well, maybe I could use some of the money in the bank and just invest a safe amount. If I loan a safe amount out, then I lose it, then I still can cover it, myself. Um, but then, of course, they made some money. Then they made some more. And before long, they had loaned out the checking and savings account money. And the risk was incredibly dangerous at that time, but no one knew it. 29 comes, the crash comes. And the things that are missing are there's no FDIC, there is no depositors insurance that's backed by the government. Um, and so when the banker went down, he was broke. Unlike the bankers today, taking advantage of this and getting rich and buying boats, and quitting work at 2 in the afternoon to get downstairs to the limousine with the cocaine and the horse. So, and in boats, I think boats probably is a big thing, and that's what I think the cycle is. The boats get, the new guys come in, they get a bigger boat, so that everybody's got to foreclose on more people to get money because they can get a bigger boat too. That's I just made that up, metaphor maybe, but that's how I do think about it. I really do. I don't see good in any of this. I don't see the kind of people I grew up doing business with. Um, so, so anyway, then the crash comes, and that was because everybody invested in everything. So it's a little bit like the dot-com bust, if you remember that. It's a little bit like what Trump's doing to the world today. That money's not going to come back very fast. The faith, it's the faith people have in something, like the dollar. There used to be gold backing the dollar, and finally there were so many dollars, and the economy got so big you couldn't find enough gold to put in one spot to back the dollar. So it's backed by the belief that the dollar is the safest currency in the world. I think we're trying to disprove that right now, which is not a good thing at all. And anybody that's mad at me for talking about Trump, you probably wouldn't want to work with me anyway. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an American. I'm an, I believe in democracy. I believe in the Constitution, and it's the Constitution is one of the reasons I do this, because I certainly don't make any money. Um, and I'm trying to figure out ways to get more things funded, because there's so many borrowers that have been just absolutely killed by attorneys that they don't have any money, and I'm close to having no money, and that's another story. I'll tell it actually next time. What happened to me, and it's as big as anybody I know of, and it's complicated, more complicated than anything I've done. And through this past 6 months, I've proven how I should have been doing this back in 2012, and it works. What I do works, but I didn't invent it. It was invented by the founders of the country, the guys that wrote the Constitution. Okay, so we're at the point where the bankers are poised to lose the community's money when the community did not even know or understand that their money wasn't in the bank. It had been loaned out a percentage. So that crash, the Great Depression, there was no insurance on deposits like there is today. Um, and and so there was no one to come in and save anyone in any town. Um, and that's why it was worse, because there was no fix at all. So these smart guys in 1934 were told to find out what went wrong and what do we do to fix it. And I just told you what went wrong is that the it was the partnership of commercial banks and stockbrokers, and greed and fast talk and risky business. Um, So what Glass-Steagall did, it did not. There's two main things: is that mainly bankers, commercial bankers, and stockbrokers could not do business together. As far as I know, they weren't allowed to have lunch. It was very strict, and for 60 some years, we didn't have an economic downturn, anything like what we're seeing now or what they saw in 1929. It kept the country safe. It kept the economy safe. There was a blip in 1986 Law Act, that caused me to stop a business. I hadn't lost money, but I couldn't do any business because the 86 Tax Law Act pretty much broke um, uh, all the lenders for a while. And so I could get customers. I'm a developer is what I am. I'm a real estate developer, and I'm a builder, and we were mostly selling lots down at a place called Lake of the Ozarks, which is where I am now and where I live. I've gone back to that project, and I meant to be back in a year and a half or so, because I thought I'd go figure out, what's going on, find bigger banks, find city banks, because I stayed in my small town, which was close to this project that I kind of just fell into, and we were doing very well. I didn't come back for 30 years, and that's 1 year ago is when I came back, and that's what I'm working on now. And I still have some properties, but I lost some, not in the 86 Tax Law Act. I lost some in the um, not 2008, which not even then. 2011, 2010 is when I began to have troubles, and I knew what was going on and still couldn't fix it. I didn't know how. I knew I know a lot about real estate, about as much as anybody I've ever met, and there's people smarter than me, but I just haven't met them. But so I'm fairly far up that chain, and but I had never studied crime. It just never occurred to me that that would be good for my business, and so it took a long time for me to turn around and go the other way. And I'm sure some of you are the same thing. Um, and so we've talked about Glass-Steagall. By the way, Glass-Steagall was repealed in 1999. There was nothing put back in its place, and there still has been nothing put back in its place. Everything is the same. You know, uh, the bill, Dodd-Frank, which I may have said that backwards because I never remember it right. But anyway, Dodd-Frank, you can read that all the way through if you can understand it, but it doesn't say anything, and it did not fix anything. So now we're looking at, 25 years since the repeal of Glass-Steagall, nothing's been put back in place. The only thing that's still around is the FDIC. In 86, there was the Federal Savings and Loan Insurance Corporation, and it went broke in a millisecond when the government enacted Glass-Steagall. I'm sorry, when they repealed Glass-Steagall. Um, that's the beginning of the problem. So we have almost 70 years that protected the country, protected the economy. And from 1999 to 2005 and 6, and then all hell broke loose in 7 and 8, based on the calendar arms, which I probably talked about on the videos. It's certainly on my website, and I think it's on Facebook, which I just renewed. I had a Facebook page. I stopped using it, and in fact, actually, I hardly ever go to Facebook. Um, so anyway, 1999 to 2005, let's say, that's 6 years after the repeal of Glass-Steagall. The other big factor is Windows 95, so 1995, uh, which was when you could first send email for free to someone else that had email, and we all got it. So it's going to come down. I strongly believe, and I can't say there's not something I don't know, because I suppose there's always something that you may not know. But it's the speed and the ability for people to find people, and it's so impersonal. Like, you can be foreclosed in New Mexico by a uh, Wall Street bank, and all this leads back to Wall Street. It will all lead back to Wall Street. That's who your lender was, and you'll never find your note that you're looking for. Um, so the ability to talk to each other, and I believe that the person that really set the world on fire by writing home loans, um, that that there was a kind of a known how many they were going to get back and get rich on. He was Countrywide before he was Long Beach before Windows 95, and if Glass-Steagall protected us that long and you repeal it, and the mortgage Wall Street um, uh, meltdown comes about 5 or 6 years later, what does it tell you? That they repealed the regulation, all regulation almost, of Wall Street. Wall Street's mostly unregulated now, and it was regulated by an old law that was put together to keep us from hitting a Great Depression again, and we've been in it. What we've done is we've seen a transfer of wealth from the middle class to the 1%, which is what Trump's working on doing now, using the richest to get all the money. Now, I have a real problem with this. I don't even understand. If they get all the money and everybody else can't work or sell or make or do, what is it they'll buy with that money? Will it be worth anything? I'm going to quit because I'm trying to keep these down to a certain time. And I've kind of watched that on videos that are well liked, people aren't reading, they aren't watching the videos all the way through. Same thing with the the post. And by the way, if you like to read things more than videos, then you should try the website. And somewhere down below you, there is a link to it. Um, and I'm putting the same stuff on Facebook, although there's a lot more on the website because I used it mostly during this 14-year period. So this is Danny Hammond. I'm going to quit now because I'm already over my time. I'm going to immediately start from the end of this, and I'm going to go to the next part. And what I'm going to do is go straight through and say, here's uh, what we need to do. This is how I did what I've just done, and I already could do it. I wasn't targeting the only party. I was like all of you. I was chasing all of the bad guys and trying to convince a judge that he didn't understand that this was a lot worse than he knew. Well, it wasn't worse than he knew, but it was as bad as you thought. So I'm going to quit right now and name this thing, and then I'm going to go to another stage of it, of, really, how do we do it, and why are we doing what we do? Okay, thanks for watching. By the way, I'm trying to get this website. I've been trying to raise money for like borrower funding, like something you would do on GoFundMe, but we can't do that because borrowers are not sympathetic to the public. If you haven't been foreclosed, you don't know how much it hurts. I'd say nearly everybody watching this has post-traumatic stress syndrome. I do. My wife got it so bad that it split us up. She's not the same person. It hurt her. The other reason that I'm doing this, that was my favorite person I've ever met. She worked with me for 22 years. She started helping in foreclosures because of ours. And she actually was a strong person, and it broke her completely. And so, um, you know, I I know what you're going through. I really do. And I wanted to find a bigger way to do it. And Google, when they bought YouTube, there is a way, and it's with ads. So you're not asking people to help borrowers. You have to have followers. We have to have subscriptions and likes and comments. And I'm going to find as many people as I can. I've had other groups call and say that they'll be glad to, subscribe, like, and make comments. And then we think of the number, how many wrongful foreclosures were there? No one will ever know exactly, but I've heard estimates, or I've seen estimates, 20 to 30 million. That's a giant number of people that could be interested if they knew. So we have to grow this channel with subscriptions and likes and comments, which are free. We're not asking for anybody to give us money. We just want to sell ads, and Google pays pretty well, but you have to have a lot bigger audience than I do, although this is growing faster than I thought it would. So please subscribe, like, and comment unless you don't like me or like watching me or you think I'm wrong, in which case you're not going to be watching anyway. So if you if you want to try to grow it and help the borrowers that can't afford it, and only because they fought really hard too, they fought past their money. So let's get some money rounded up and help more people. And all that takes from me is more staff. I now have no staff. I can't pay for it because I never get to my core business because I was doing this. And now I'm at a point where I have to raise money to help some people, and still not charge too much to other people, which leaves me with nothing because I don't even think there's a profit in this. I don't think it can be done. I do think that saving the Constitution, being a good American, and settling both parties down or getting two new parties might help. Um, anyway, subscribe, like, comment, grow it now. And I can, if you call me and you want me to help, I'm going to look to see if you've subscribed, and I I'll be able to tell unless it's a bit not a business or something. And I decided that that's going to be important to me. When I decide is, can you help me help others if you want me to help you? And to do that, subscribe, like, comment. I don't know any other way to raise money. We are not a sympathetic cause. Other borrowers think that you're trying to get a house for free. And although that's not what you're trying to do, and I'm going to tell you that you're going to end up not owing, you end up owing the money. It's uh, it's the crooks that are trying to take your house for free and give you nothing. um, they're the ones that ruin where the notes are. But we're going to talk about where the notes are and why you've never seen yours. And if you have, I think you should show it to us all because it's a very rare object. Anyway, that's it for now. And please subscribe, like, and comment. And let's see if we can't g- get something going that helps a lot of people. Yeah, in fact, we don't have to win everyone, and we don't, and we don't even have to get everyone. What's 1% of 30 million? It's $3 million. What, can we help a lot of people? Yes, yes. And the more people that we help, the more that it gets known, and the more other people will see, and we'll get rid of these guys trying to make money off of you on their websites. I couldn't find any websites that I thought really were trying to help people. I only saw websites where they're promising something that you can't promise, and it seemed like there was a lot of people wanting to sell template of a lawsuit, and then you had to fill it out and turn it in, and they weren't going to help. Um, I got one guy keeps calling me, and I just tell him, I don't, what you do is wrong, because these people do something else well, but they don't know this well. And I know that I have an advantage. That's one of the reasons. Another reason I do it. I should list them all someday. Maybe I don't. I don't think about it like that. Anyway, I've gone over my time. That's it. Thanks. Subscribe, like, and comment.